former FCA technical specialist Rory PercivalAdvisers need to reassess their approach to selecting cash flow planning tools, according to consultant Rory Percival, in light of new pension transfer analysis rules and Mifid II legislation. The former FCA technical specialist has produced a new due diligence guide to cash flow planning for advisors, as pension freedoms and technological improvements have begun to increase the popularity of the practice. In the lead-up to the introduction of the FCA's appropriate pension transfer analysis, Percival says advisors should avoid approaching cash flow planning as a one-size-fits-all solution, and break down needs based on different life stages. Young accumulators, older accumulators in the transition to retirement, those about to retire, and retired clients can be viewed as the defining life stages. Percival says, cash flow planning can be about any form of income and outgoings and does not have to relate to the client's overall position. It shouldn't be used dogmatically. Advisory firms must have a process in place to identify client segments, and the types of services and investments that are appropriate for each client segment. When choosing cash flow planning tools, a simple solution that gives the advisor flexibility may be a better long-term choice than a sophisticated offering. While more complex ones take longer to prepare but can do more difficult tax calculations, Percival warns they also involve more due diligence. He says, one other consideration which may work for some firms is to use two tools, a very simple one where simple cash flows are needed and a more complex one where you also have clients where the additional features are valuable. Advisors should also be considering alternative ways to achieve a client's objectives under the regulator's new assessment of suitability guidance. Percival says, building this into the cash flow is a much better way of exploring this option than getting a life assurance quote. Advisors are also now working under Mifid II rules, which say firms must ensure all tools are suitable for clients and their risks actively mitigated. Regardless of whether an advisor is using stochastic or deterministic modeling, considering the downside risk against the client's capacity for loss works to test the cash flow plan, determining whether tools of adequate complexity are in use. Percival says, if potential losses mean that the client's capacity for loss is breached, then you should consider another solution for the client. If this is not possible, then you need to tell the client that their objectives cannot reasonably be met. A shortfall between income and expenditure should also be treated differently depending on the tool's complexity. Percival says, consider if assets are drawn from cash deposits first, and where from once these are depleted. You need to be able to understand this sort of detail in the tool, so advisors need appropriate training, as well as being approximately right rather than perfectly wrong. Percival adds advisors need to use sensible evidence-based assumptions when making calculations, without getting too hung up on being overly precise. He says, it is fine to have approximations in terms of the outputs from the tool, and you should include a caveat in the cash flow report in your suitability report about the figures being approximations and being heavily influenced by differences between assumptions and reality. When following up with suitability reports, Percival says cash flow reports should still be provided separately in most cases. He says, given their importance, you could include the main assumptions, but suitability reports often focus too much on the investments, whereas the focus should be on the plan and how it meets the client's objectives. Differently levels of complexity within tools may also determine whether tax, lifetime allowance, annual allowance, and national insurance are included. Percival says, clearly, advisors need to understand the tool and how it works. They should make sure all users are aware of these and have a firm-level process to mitigate these limitations as per Mifid rules. Advisors should also confirm tax and national insurance calculations are not incorrect before being entered into a cash flow plan for recalculation. Risk profiling tools are still more common amongst advisors than cash flow planning tools, according to research from Platform. 15% of advisors do not use cash flow tools, while 39% use them for less than 3/4 of their clients in the retirement stage. Platform agrees the use of cash flow modeling tools is likely to increase under Mifid II regulations. Percival's due diligence considerations for selecting a cash flow planning tool: scope, deterministic or stochastic. If stochastic, basis of modeling notional or real assumptions, what is built in and what is adaptable, how does the system use assets to provide income and withdrawals, what flexibility is there, what it calculates, doesn't calculate, planned updates, update process in event of legislative changes, input time, data protection, integrations with other tools, limitations, support, training, guides, cost, trial period.